Welcome to the extended menu and bonus blocks tutorial video for Mega Menu. In this video, we're going to show you how to take your menu from good to insanely great. I'm very excited to show you this information. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to see how we're going to be able to make these kinds of menus, a very complicated, beautiful, rich menus with lots of types of information. We've got here links, pictures, text. We're even going to get into this panel nav later on as well. Here's a very simple example of an extended menu. And so you can do all of this without knowing any code, without modifying any files. It's very simple, but it does take a little while to explain. So this video might go on a little bit longer than the rest. All right, first I'll just clarify the difference between a regular drop-down menu like this one, which is just a straightforward single list. And then you've got an auto mega menu, which is second level and third level. I touched on this topic in an earlier video. So we can combine either one of those two with contents from the stacks. So if it was a regular list like this, a regular menu, you'd probably want to put the rest of the content to the side, usually the right side or the left side. An example like that would be this resources page. It's a little too big and busy, but you get the idea. This list down the left side is the dynamic menu, and then everything else is being pulled from the stack and laid out in a certain way. You can do it with an auto mega menu as well, but keep in mind that there is limited amount of space available. So it's better to place that content on the top and bottom. And when we get through the video, I'll explain to you later on where that happens. All right, so let's put the page into edit mode. And we're out of the block. And before we get stuck into the extended menu, I just want to point out under advanced and layout, there's this one field over here, default mega column count. And this is relevant because I'm going to refer back to this. This is the default number of maximum columns available on an auto mega menu. We were just talking about that a second ago. By default, it's 4. You can have up to 6 columns if you want. And this is going to happen and be applied to all auto mega menus on your site unless you specify otherwise. Okay, now let's get into the extended menu. This is a little busy, this interface, but it does do a lot. Okay, this is where you can incorporate stack content. I'll explain what each of the fields means. Along here, we have the parent menu. This is what you see along the top navigation menu. That's going down here one at a time. Then going across, we can set some information for each of these drop-downs. We can choose the width. This can either be auto, where it'll stretch as wide as it needs to, depending on the content. It can be as wide as the segment, full nav width, or full screen. And by some of those terms, I'll show you here. From this anatomy image on the user guide, a segment I would refer to as, say, section number 2 and 3, which is the nav menu. That's one segment on the whole menu. If you want your drop down to be the same width as that segment, which would be from about to documents, then choose that option. If you want it to be the full width, then it will go all the way from the very edge of the mega menu to the other side. And the third option is full page, where it'll completely fill up the entire width of the page. So it's smart to choose the right kind of width depending on how much content you've got on there. If you try to cram a lot of content into a menu that's too narrow, then it's going to start looking a little bit strange. So it's important to manually choose the width. Secondly, we choose the layout. There is a whole bunch, dozens and dozens of options here. You can really scroll through these all day long. Every kind of possible combination you can think of. These are represented in columns and rows. And each of these areas is given a number. So that number corresponds to the stack, what's going to go in there. So let's take a simple here, 2 columns. We've got 2 spaces where we can put stack content side by side. And then underneath here, where we've got this field for adding the stacks, the order and sequence in which you enter for the stacks is the same sequence in which it will present. So the first stack item will be in column 1. Second one will be in, number 2. So if you've got something like, say this one, 1 plus 2, then the first stack will go in position 1, the second stack in position 2, the third stack in position 3. That makes sense? Okay, that's quite important. Now, if you wanted to go a bit further and create your own layout because you can't find one on here, down the very bottom, there is up to 5 custom layouts. And there's some documentation on the C5 Extras website about how to create your own custom layouts. But for 99% of people, you'll be able to find something. There is many, many options here to choose from. Okay, the extended menu order is whereabouts to display this, either before or after the dynamic navigation menu. So you saw in the example I had before, there was a dynamic nav going down on the left side, and then the bunch of stacks on the right side. So that would be after. If you wanted to put it before, you can do it. So you can switch this on a drop-down by drop-down basis. And last column over here is the auto mega column. This is how you can manually override the default auto mega columns, which we just had a look at on the advanced tab. And perhaps you only want to show 2 columns on one and maybe 6 columns on another. You've got a lot of control here over how you handle the layout and the positioning of those columns. All of those columns are maximum. So on smaller screens, it will dynamically collapse and be in a responsive kind of design that will only show what it can fit in there. It won't try to force too much. So you don't have to worry about different sizes and whatnot. It will take care of that for you. One handy tip here when we're talking about stacks, I didn't do it in this particular example, but I wish I had, is when you're dealing with stacks, if you group together related stacks into a folder, then it makes it much easier to find and manage them in the future. But you can see from my example, I've made a whole lot. And when you're looking for a specific one, it can be a little bit hard. But please take my advice, make a folder, and it'll be much easier to manage them. From here, we can do 2 other things. On the left side, we can view the attributes of a page so that we don't have to leave this area. If we wanted to find out more about this page, when it's, say it, if you want to change the name of it, change any attributes, all of those things can be done very quickly and easily without leaving the screen. And the other thing you can do is delete that particular menu item, just the drop down. So if that page still exists in your sitemap, it will still show up in your menu. There just won't be a extended menu on that. That change will only take effect when you press the save button. Now, if you happen to have another browser window open and you're making changes to your stacks at the same time, down here, there is a button for refresh stacks. That will reload the list of stacks available in these drop downs. It should also automatically refresh those when you navigate from one tab to another. But in case it doesn't, or in case you're making changes on the fly to your stacks separately, and this is where you can refresh those so you don't have to close out and then open up this window again. Okay, let's look at how to populate the stack contents. So we take this first example here for resources, and it's got a stack called menu test 1, and we've got a layout 3 columns plus 1. So if we have a look at our stacks area, we're going to find menu test 1. And this is a very simple content block with a bunch of text in there. So whatever you put in here, we've also got a horizontal rule block, another content block. You can add as much within reason as you want. You're only limited to how much space is on the screen. So that's how we add a stack. We then pull it in here. So it's best to populate your stacks with the content that you want to put in your extended menu before that, rather than jumping back and forth. It'll take a bit longer if you do it that way. Now you might ask, what types of blocks can you use in these stacks for extended menu? Here is a list that I prepared on the user guide. It's under extended menu. And here, this is where the blocks I recommended and have tested and confirmed the formatting works fine. First one is content, pretty straightforward, just text. Page list, this one will go to in a little more detail with the custom blocks that I've included. You can do an image, a horizontal rule, featured link, feature, accordion, topic list, social links, express entry list, share this page, and event list, pull from the calendar. In theory, other kinds of blocks may be able to work, but if they do or don't, we can't guarantee that, and we won't support those. Speaking of the page list blocks, here's a bit more details about the page list blocks and the block templates that are included. So these are some examples, but the easiest way to describe it is they're really grouped into 2 types. One is the page icons, and the other one shows a thumbnail. So here you'll see a screenshot from my demo, and that shows you 2 page list block templates with a series of 4 columns each. So the name of that one is very sensible, thumbnail above, horizontal 4-column center. So exactly what you see, the thumbnail name describes what it's going to be. It's showing the thumbnail is above the text, it's horizontal, so it's going sideways, not vertically, and we're working with 4 columns, and that text is centered. There you go. So the page list block will have most of the fields respected in these block templates, except for a couple of things which are not needed. In particular, pagination, we're not going to provide an RSS feed, and the title of the page list. That's in order to maintain best practices for usability with a mega menu. There are several other block templates that are included with mega menu to help keep your menu clean and simple. First one is a content block template. This one is called Clean Bullets, which simply brings out the unordered list or ordered list within a content block. By default, within mega menu, those bullets will be hidden because you may just want to have a list of links. The other kind of block template is for the image. We've got two, one's called cover height, the other one's cover width. And I've used that in this example. You see in the screenshot, the image on the left, the two of those, they've been stretched so that they take up the entire space available, regardless of the aspect ratio of the image. I've also included a block template for search and the search results page. So it simply just shows the results only. It doesn't need to show additional information. That just makes it look busy. That's completely optional if you want to use that. And lastly, the Express entry list has a custom block template called Clean for Mega Menu. Same idea is that it's had some portions and features removed in order to be able to keep it looking a little cleaner and neater. And so we don't have some unpleasant usability situations where things can be clicked and sorted where you don't want them to be clicked and sorted. Let's have a look at an example of a page list custom block template. Okay, here in this particular example, it's called Demo Menu Shop List. And if I click on it and choose Design, you can see here the block template that's been applied. And this is the full list of block templates available for the page list block. They all start with the word mega menu. Then you can see the ones that start with page icons. We've got 2 columns, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we've got the thumbnail templates, either above the horizontal 2 columns, 2 columns center, 3 columns, so forth. Then we've got the thumbnail above at a vertical list. And you can also choose the image size, large, medium, small. And then we've got thumbnail to the side in a vertical list and different sizes for the thumbnails. So that should cover the vast majority of page lists, whether they're a list of products, a list of blog posts, or just a list of pages. You can do a lot with that list of products, perhaps. Now, if you want to add an element, you click on Add Element, and you choose whichever top level page you want, and you start to fill in the details, whether you want it to take up the full width, what kind of layout you like, whether you want to provide it before or after. And then if it's an auto mega menu, then you can choose how many columns. If you leave it as default, that's fine. And here we can choose our stack contents. You can only add a stack content once to a particular extended menu. You can't add the same thing twice, so it will automatically take it off the list as you populate it. If you've got room here for 3 columns and you put in 4 stack items, the 4th one is just going to be ignored. And if I don't want to save that, I can also delete this. And one other thing you can do, which is very cool, if you want to add a page that is not in your sitemap, you can absolutely do that. So over here under Insert and then Insert Menu Item Simple, I've gone ahead and created a simple link. We covered this briefly in another video. I've just done a page to another page on my website. It's the text is map. So now if I head over here to the extended menu, click Add Element, I can take this brand new page that does not exist on the sitemap, and then apply some content to it from the stack. And this will create a dropdown. So you can create dropdowns on pages that do not exist in your sitemap. That's very flexible and very exciting. I'm going to remove that for now because we don't need it. These stack contents here have already been preset up. I've done those in advance. It may take a little bit of time for you to do that the first time around. I'm going to go straight into the 2 other custom blocks that were included with the mega menu called Manual Page List and Manual Panel Nav List. Let's have a look at the Manual Page List. I'm going to head over to the stacks, and we're looking for demo menu sandbox on post manual. So this is one of the extended menu content. You'll see we've got some text in the content block, and then this block here is the manual page list. I'm using this to create a list of blog posts. If you wish to do it this way, this is one way of doing it. Another great way of using this is for products. If you want to have a list of products side by side and you want to link off to different pages around your website, that's another way. Okay, so I'll explain what these fields mean. You have a type of list. This list is also very similar to the custom block templates that are included for the page list block. So I've got some similar kind of options here. A thumbnail, again, page icons, thumbnail on the side, thumbnail above and center, then how many columns you want to appear, the alignment of the text, and we can choose what details we want to show, kind of similar to a regular page list, but this is all entirely manual. We can choose to show the page name, a description, a date, thumbnail image. We can also choose how large the thumbnail image is, and if we want to scale it using the built-in concrete CMS thumbnailing. If we want to show a page icon, which is a custom page attribute, or just a simple icon, which is pull from font awesome, you can do that too. We've got some inline help here. It will link us off to the thumbnail sizes page in the dashboard and thumbnail options if you want to be able to customize your own thumbnail sizes. On the page list tab, you'll see here how the page list is created. It is an entirely manual process, as you would expect. First thing to do is we can choose to optionally link to a page on our site. That's kind of the idea of a page list block. So you can choose anything from your sitemap. If you're not happy with the name that it gives you, you can override that name with this text field. If you don't, it's just going to show the name of that page. Now, I could call this one short title, and if I hit save, you'll see here it says short title on the first item. I can also override the thumbnail, which I have done in this particular case. And if I wanted to show a simple icon, I can do that too. I can also choose to override a description, which is pulled from the page attribute otherwise. So this is a description. Save that. Now that's not being visible here. Why is that? Because the page description field is not being checked. So it's not being shown. It will still store the information. It just won't present it. If I wanted to present it, I need to check that box. And then you can see what that looks like. All right. Let me move on to the next list item. And it continues, and you can keep on adding them. If you want to rearrange them, you just drag from the up and down arrow, move them up and down. And to add more, just click on Add Page, and you can fill in another item. If you click on the X in the top right, then you can delete an item as well. So have a lot of control and flexibility over what you can do with these manual page list block. It means that you can make page lists that look and behave in the same way as an automated page list block, but you have 100% control over the content. There's an advanced field here for setting the animation counter. I'll explain that in the documentation on the website in a little more detail. Once you made your changes, just hit save and then publish, and those changes go live straight away. Let's have a look on the front end how that presents. The formatting is inherited from the mega menu, so it'll look a little bit different depending on what skin you have. There we go. So that list has been used here. And you can see my short title, which I overrode the page name. It's giving us a date underneath it. And these are 4 particular blog posts that I chose to display. And this can be used, as it has been in this case, within a panel nav, which we'll come to shortly. You can put it pretty much anywhere within an extended menu. So these sort of links up here, they're driven by just a regular content block. And I've made a bullet list and then made each of those links link out to somewhere. And it's formatted in the exact same way that it would a regular drop-down like this. So you can't tell the difference between that and that visually, but behind the scenes, it is a very different block. So that's why the content block has the list item bullets hidden by default. So you can do this sort of thing, which is why if you do want to show bullets, then you'll have to use the content block custom template in order to do this sort of thing. All right, now we're going to move on to the most advanced portion of the video, and that is the manual panel nav list. Here is an example of what it looks like. We've got a list of links down the side with text, an icon, and a short description. And as you click on each of them, then the panel on the right side changes from the content from one to the next. So it's this tabbed interface that uses and optimizes the space that is available and to show more and more information within a limited amount of space. The information within this panel is all logically related to whatever the link is on the side. So I've given a couple examples. These just say blog post manual, or there's a blog post auto. You could have community news. This is just 3 images side by side. We've got an express entries block here. And this is an example of why we got a block template for express entry list. So we take out the bits that we don't need, like the links on the columns. So the panel nav is kind of a similar concept to how the mega menu and extended menu works. The extended menu works by having a series of top level pages, and then you populate stack contents and assign them to each of those in a certain particular layout. Same idea here, and we just extend it a little bit further. So you can have one or maybe even more panel nav blocks on each dropdown. But what I do recommend doing, setting up all the content first in the stacks so that you can quickly build out your panel nav list. Let's head over and have a look how that's done. Right, so this is the manual panel nav block. We edit this. You'll see so there are some similarities between this and the manual page list. We've got some similar options here for the style, how we want the format to be done on the left side, these links. It's up to you if you prefer a mouse hover or a mouse click. Similar as before, you can choose to show a name, a description, thumbnail, page icon, or a simple icon. And the thumbnail can also be, you can show a thumbnail as well, but it's only going to work when the list format supports thumbnails. Same as before. The page icon standard shows this kind of layout with an icon next to the page name. It's got some more tips down here about how to use this type of block and whereabouts it's used. Okay, on this side of it, we click on the panel list tab, and we've got, again, a similar layout as the manual page list block, except this time, logically, we just need a title. So we have a look over here. On the left side, we've got blog post manual. You can see exactly where that appears. If you choose a layout that has a thumbnail, in this case, we've got a list format that is just page list standard. We're not using thumbnails. So I've skipped over that. You can also choose to show an icon from your file manager or a simple icon, which is pulled from Font Awesome. Optionally, you can get info from a page. So if you didn't want to have to write all this information, you can grab a page from your sitemap and it'll automatically populate the title and the thumbnail if you choose. And when you do choose one, if you want to see the attributes, there is a button here for that. The description is just a short line of text. You can only do very basic formatting. To meet usability best practices, I've disabled links, so they shouldn't be occurring within this short description. You'll see here on the left the example. We've got blog post manual, manual pageless block. I spelled it wrong. Block. And if I make a change there, you can see it's changed automatically there. All right. So as you go down, we've got a few more pieces of information. The two most important ones here, layout and stacks. So this is where the similarities between this and extended menus lies, is that we've got the exact same list of layouts available within the panel. So this is the panel on the right side. We've got the list down the left side and the panel on the right. So all of that panel is populated from stack contents, which you can arrange in this kind of way. So in this case, I've just gone simple and just put in one column, but you can go as detailed as you want and have 5 different areas. Then you just need to populate each area with a different stack from this autocomplete list. Here is the second one. It's called blog post order. You can see that on the left side, and same deal. I've only used one column just to keep it simple. And that continues on. So you keep repeating the process, adding a title, an icon, optionally, and then a layout and some stack content. This is why I recommended before that it's best if you populate your stacks with all the content that you want and then come here. Because if you do this part first, the stack you want to put in there doesn't exist yet and you have to go off and create it. So if you create all the stacks first, load them up with content, and then come back here, you can just pop them in one at a time and be much quicker. Same as before, you can minimize these, collapse them, and rearrange them if you want, drag them up and down with the up and down arrows. If you want to remove it altogether, then you click on the red X. So actually, once you get your mind wrapped around how this works, it's not too hard, but it is incredibly flexible and powerful in that you can create almost any combination of layouts and content imaginable. You can really go to town on this. So what you see here in the dashboard is the simplified format of that. It's not going to look exactly this way because the formatting for this block is inherited from the mega menu. It has to be used within the mega menu. Otherwise, it's not going to look properly because it needs to inherit the same modern skin that you applied to your mega menu. So you can see here, this panel has got a certain kind of coloring applied to it, certain kind of text. This is inherited from the skin, transparent sky, that we have used on this particular menu. If I change the skin, then the panel nav will change depending on whatever skin I choose. So that gives us a lot of flexibility without having to worry about coloring and formatting, while also you can do a lot with this manual panel nav list. Just keep in mind, remember what you see in the dashboard in terms of colors and padding and borders is not exactly as it will appear on the front end. So don't get concerned if you can't see what exactly the way you want to see it, simply because a mega menu does not exist within this stack. So I can't inherit the formatting from there. Okay, so this is the manual panel nav. And with this, combined with the extended menu content, you can really do quite amazing or insanely great things with mega menu. Your imagination is your only limit. It's with simple page list blocks, with a manual page list, or with this manual panel nav list. Just with regular dropdowns and auto mega dropdowns, you can really do so much now with the new mega menu 3.0 that you couldn't do anything like this before within Concrete CMS. The level of complexity and detail you can control with mega menu is quite remarkable. And because it relies on the stacks feature within Concrete CMS, you gain all the benefits here, including version histories and user control. So if you want to set permissions that only some of your admins can edit certain kind of stacks, then you can do that within the dashboard. And that prevents them from changing things that you don't want. All right, that's our overview of the extended menu and bonus blocks with mega menu. I hope you've enjoyed this and that it's sparked your imagination and you've got some ideas on how you're going to use mega menu. In the next video, I'll cover advanced menu styling and layout.